Now, 2014 will likely be remembered for just 2 grand juries that decided not to indict white police officers who killed unarmed black men, and it may go unnoticed along many other legal decisions this year that impact the justice system. Gloria Browne-Marshall is also a civil rights attorney. She's also a constitutional law professor at John Jay College. She's also author of the book, Race, Law, and American Society, 1607 to present. She joins us now to discuss some of those cases. Gloria, thank you for joining us today on Arise America.
Thank you.
What is the main talking point you think is, as we enter a new year, coming off of a year with all of these deaths and the confrontations that have resulted from those when it comes to relations between communities of color and the police?
I think it has to be an issue of trust. The question, rightfully asked from the community to the police, how can we trust you? What can you show us that would develop trust between the community and police? That's an important question, and that's the question we have to have going into 2015.
Where are we in terms of race relations? People say that they're better. Some people say that they're worse. What's your opinion?
I think we're at a turning point. Going into 2014, there was a lot of simmering rage, disappointment, anguish even around the Trayvon Martin verdict in which George Zimmerman was acquitted of his murder. And I think that by the time we got into 2014 and we were dealing with Donald Sterling and his outright racist comments, and it was just in your face that, you know, we're going to say these things about you in front of your face or behind your back, and there's nothing you can do about it. And slowly but surely, when that body of that teenager, Michael Brown, lay in the street, it just signaled people enough is enough. And so that was a turning point. I think that's where we are, at that turning point in race relations.
Gloria, we have much more to discuss, and we will do that on the other side of the break. You're watching Arise America. We continue our discussion of the year in justice with Gloria Browne-Marshall. She's a civil rights attorney and constitutional law professor at John Jay College, but she joins us right now from Washington, D.C. These protests, you said they were a turning point. There was a time when this particular generation was accused of being insular and apathetic. Do you think that has changed, or do you think that these protests represent a very small percentage of Generation X?
I teach at John Jay College, so I'm around that group, 18 to 23-year-olds, and they are gaining a foothold. I try to get them to see that they have a role in the destiny of this country. And so we're beginning to see that with this. Because these are teenagers being killed, they can identify not just with the victim, but they also begin to see the structure around them is in need of change. And they are finding their own power to make change. And they're doing it based on the structure of civil rights that we've built over the generations, and they're adding their own voices to it. So I'm very proud of their ability to take that constitutional protection that has been created for them and use it to make this country better.
But Gloria, what do you think will be the staying power of it? I mean, the fire burns bright now, but what will keep it burning for the time needed to effect change? The movie Selma came out last week, and that was a microcosm of how long it took the civil rights movement to actually affect policy change. What do you think will be the sustaining power of this movement today?
You're going to find this somewhat amusing, but I look at history, and I'm putting this in historical context. We're on a continuum. This is all part of the civil rights movement of the 1800s, 1900s going forward. It never ended. It just ebbs and flows, and this is a part of that flow. Race and racism is in the fabric of America. It was there from the very beginning. It's not going anywhere. So there's always going to be a need to make sure that this chronic ailment that we have is not left untreated. So this is something that's necessary. It's not going to end racism. It will create change. And this is all for a better future. Not everything is going to happen overnight.
In the 60s and 70s, there were identifiable leaders. And in the 80s and 90s, communities of color were criticized for not having a quote-unquote leader or a national leader. Certainly, Al Sharpton represented that here, various politicians across the country. Do you think that in the digital era, that is something that is absolutely necessary?
Oh, I think it's necessary, and I think we have leaders, but we have different forms. I mean, we had leaders back then. Think of SNCC and CORE. Think of the Black Panthers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. There were many different voices within the courts.
So who do you think those people are today?
Communities.
Who do you think those people are today in 2014 moving into 2015?
Well, for example, you're one. I'm one. The young people in Ferguson, Connie Rice. We have all of these different people. When we think about who needs to be our leader, we don't need just one. And I think that was a lesson learned with Martin Luther King. Because when he was assassinated, what happened to the movement? Everything was under one person, and then we lost our heart and courage. We've regained some of that courage, and we're going forward. And there will be people who emerge to the top, but it might not be in the same form we had before.
Talk to me with the minute we have left about, as I mentioned, the digital era and the presence of social media. Do you think it helps or do you think it hurts?
I think it helps, just like the telephone helped during the Selma marches, just like the mimeograph machine going all the way back helped. I think it all helps. I think it's all part of the process of the continuum to go forward. Social media is going to be something that's going to assist us in getting information out if it's used well. And just like the iPhone and everything else in text messages, we have to be able to use it to improve our society. And this is one mechanism to improve it, as long as we use it to do just that and not just lay back and use it as a toy.
Civil rights attorney and Professor Gloria Browne-Marshall, thank you so much for spending time with us on this subject.
Thank you.